Hello everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how to make a Wander AI in Unity using Unity's built-in NavMesh system. Super simple, super easy, not a lot of code, and it has built-in obstacle avoidance. Alright, starting off here with a blank scene, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a few things. Plane, we'll just set it to like, that'll be good enough. Good enough for government work. I'm going to go ahead and create a capsule. I'm just going to call it AI. Call it Steve, whatever you want. Go ahead and put that on top of the plane. And this isn't necessary, but I do want to create a material just to throw on him so that he stands out a little bit from the background. Something kind of like that. That's good enough. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to create our first and our only C# script. I'm just going to call it Wander AI. Wait for that to process. Okay, so now that we have all of that done, everything created, we can go ahead and open our script. Let me pull it over from my second monitor. And first things first, we need to import the UnityEngine.ai library. Otherwise, the editor's just going to look at us funny when we try and do anything involving AI. Okay, so now that we have that imported, we can go ahead and start creating some variables. First ones being our max and minimum distance. Max distance x, min distance x, and then max distance z, and min distance z. And what this is here for is because instead of setting a point on this plane like we did with the last Wander AI, we are actually just going to be using coordinates in relation to where the AI is currently at. Our next float is going to be our max cutoff, and this is going to be how long it's allowed to wander for. So if I set a coordinate for it to wander to that is 400 units out and it's wandering there forever, I don't want to have to wait for it to get all the way there before it changes direction, because sometimes you just want it to switch directions in the middle of it wandering. All right, next float is going to be our min cutoff. This is the minimum amount of time that it's allowed to wander for. That way it's not trying to wander for 1/10 of a second, or it's not trying to wander for 0 seconds. All right, then we're going to create another float. We're going to call it cancel distance. And this is because we don't want the AI to hit the exact coordinate that it's wandering to and then stop, because you're going to run into things like floating point errors and whatnot. So if it's trying to hit the exact coordinate that it's trying to wander to, chances are it's never exactly going to hit it. So you're going to have cancel distance. This way it's kind of like when it gets within that coordinate that it's trying to wander to, then it'll stop. All right, and then down here we're going to start creating some private variables. We're going to create a private bool called isWandering. We're going to create a private vector3, call that wander point. This is the point that we're going to set for it to wander to. We're going to need a private NavMesh agent. We're just going to call it agent. And if we did not import this library up here, it's not going to let us put this in. It's just going to look at it as funny. It's going to throw an error. All right, now we need a private float called wait time. Wait time is how long it's going to wait in between choosing new coordinates. And then a private float cutoff. And cutoff is going to be chosen randomly when we call our wander function. It's going to give us a number between our maximum and minimum cutoff. That way it has a set time that it's wandering for. All right, so next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and get this wander function out of the way. Go ahead and get it created. So our wander function, first thing that we're going to do in here is we're going to set our wandering equal to true. We want our AI to know that it is currently wandering. That's going to come into play later. We're going to create a couple of temporary variables. Our x equals random dot range, and we're going to call our min distance x and our max distance x and this is going to give us our x coordinate that we're going to wander to. Our x is for random x, and our float, our RZ, is going to be random.range, and it's going to be the exact same thing as before, except it's going to be our min distance z and our max distance z, okay? And that, of course, stands for random z. All right, so next, this is entirely optional. I just like to have it in here for debugging purposes, but we can say random x, and then we're going to go ahead and do a space, and we're going to say plus rx dot toString. That way we know what we're getting out of it, and then we can do the exact same thing here with our random z and rz dot toString. Okay, awesome. Okay, so now that we have our print functions in here, we're going to go ahead and we're going to set our wander point, and that is going to be equal to a new vector3, and we're going to say transform dot position dot x plus rx. We're just going to set that to 1. That's kind of variable. That the only reason we're setting it to 1 with this is because our AI is at a y of 1, but you might have to play around with that a little bit if you're, you know, on elevated terrain and whatnot. And then here we're going to go transform.position.z plus rz. Close that in. And the reason that we're throwing our transform in here, our different positions, our x and our z, is so that it is wandering in relation to the AI. It's not just choosing a random coordinate. All right, next thing is we're going to go agent.set destination, and we're going to just set it to our wander point that we just set, and NavMesh is going to do all of the fancy stuff for us. It's going to start it wandering over there. Okay, and actually it appears though as if I missed a float, so we're going to go public float max wait time. All right, and then down here we're going to go ahead and we are going to set our wait time, which is our private variable, to a random.range 0 max wait time. Awesome. And then we're going to go ahead and set our cutoff equal to random.range min cutoff and max cutoff. Okay. So now that we have our wander done, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go into our start function, and we're going to start assigning some of these private variables. That way they work the way they should. So we're going to go agent equals game object dot get component NavMesh agents. All right, close that off, and then our wait time is going to be random.range 0 max wait time. And the reason we're assigning this is because it's going to wait a certain amount of time before it starts to wander. Before it wanders the first time and it calls this first wander function, it's going to wait a little bit of time. So we got to assign that. And then same thing here, we're going to have to assign our cutoff. So we're just going to go random.range, and then we're going to run min cutoff and max cutoff. Awesome. So last thing here is going to be our update function, and we're just going to run a few if statements in here. Our first is going to be if not is wandering. So if we are not currently wandering, then we're going to go wait time minus equals time dot delta time. And this is basically just going to create a timer. So if our wait time is at 4 seconds, then over 4 seconds, it's going to tick down to 0. Okay, so with this if statement done, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create our second if statement. This one is going to be a simple one. If not is wandering, and our wait time is less than or equal to 0. And we're going to run wander. Awesome. Down here, we're going to run another if statement. If is wandering. Then we're going to run cutoff minus equals time dot delta time. So we have our timer up here for when we are not wandering. We're just waiting for our time until we can start wandering again. And down here, when we are wandering, we're running our cutoff time. So if our cutoff runs out before we reach the destination that we're wandering to, it'll switch gears just mid walking. All right, and then we have one last if statement to throw in down here. So we're going to run if is wandering and our vector 3 dot distance between transform dot position, so our position as the AI, and our wander point is less than or equal to our cancel distance, the threshold that we have set for us to reach that coordinate, or our cutoff is less than or equal to 0. Then we're going to go ahead and run is wandering equals false, set it to false, that way we can try and wander again. And we're going to go ahead and I set our agent set destination, and this is going to seem a little counterintuitive, to transform dot position. Now it would be preferable if you could set your destination to null, to nothing, but in my experience the Unity engine does not like that. So if you just set your transfer, or you just set your destination for your wander to yourself, it'll stop wandering, it'll stop rotating, it'll stop trying to walk anywhere because it's already met that requirement. All right, so this is our whole script. So we're going to go ahead and go back into here, let it compile. Okay, so now that we are back in our editor, we're going to go ahead and add a component, NavMesh agent. This is essential because this script that we're about to add on here, in our private variables, it's calling for a NavMesh agent. You can mess around with this, mess around with your speed, your angular speed, your acceleration. This is all super fun stuff. They'll have it all built in for you. And then we're just going to go ahead and set our max wander distance. We can set it to something like 20, negative 20, 20, and negative 20 just to start. But the reason that we're doing these in the negative is because when it is calling our function to set that random coordinate, it is doing it basically on a plane around our AI. So that creates the plane for you. If you can imagine a plane that goes 20 units in either direction. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and set our max cutoff. This is the most time that he's allowed to wander for, so if he really can't find his way somewhere, it'll cut off. We can set it to something like 20 seconds again. Our minimum cutoff, the least amount of time we want him to wander for, is like, we can just set it down to 5. Our maximum wait time is 5. And then cancel distance, I just like to put 1 there. That way, if he's within 1 unit of the coordinate that he's trying to wander to, he'll stop moving. All right, make sure you save this. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do, now that we have our NavMesh agent assigned on here, is we're going to go and we're going to hit this little cloud button right here. And then you're going to go ahead and hit all. Scroll down to your packages, hit AI navigation, and install. And once that all runs, okay, so now that we have the package installed, we can go ahead and go into our window panel here, hit AI, hit navigation, drag and drop this over here. Alrighty, so we're gonna have to go to our plane, create a NavMesh surface on it, and we're gonna set it to walkable. Our agent type is gonna be humanoid because this is set to humanoid by default. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna hit bake. You're gonna see the whole area is gonna turn blue, the whole area on this plane. And in a perfect world, when we hit play on this, our AI should start moving. Here we are. See, he's moving around. Okay, so the cool thing about using NavMesh with Unity is now I can go in here, I can create a cube and scale it up, scale it out, and over here, duplicate it, create some walls. We're going to go under these, and we're going to add a NavMesh surface. We're going to set them to not walkable. And then we're going to go ahead and rebake our plane. And you can see now we have this white area around these walls. And that is a non-walkable area. It means that our AI is not allowed to walk there. So when we go ahead and we start this up, you'll see that once our AI starts to wander, he's not going to try and wander into any of the walls. So he's going to go here, and he's actually going to go around the walls. Super simple, super easy. It even has the cool debug stuff for it, showing what destination he's going to. If we wait a second here, he'll wander again. But that's it. That's all she wrote. Now you got a super simple Wander AI. It's using Unity's built-in NavMesh system, so you don't even have to do anything with pathfinding. It'll figure it all out on its own.